This is the Fifth Estate, coming to you from the Fort Hall School of Government in Nairobi, Kenya, and Professor Matiangi. This week, Gachagua released a letter claiming that the government is planning to assassinate him. And because Gachagua is not particularly clever, we dismiss this as a claim coming from a man with mental health issues. But we are wrong. In June 2019, Ruto claimed that Uhuru wanted to assassinate him. Then he gave us the most ridiculous story ever. He told us that a committee of 4 Kikuyu ministers, 20 permanent secretaries, and 30 CEOs were planning to kill him. And that this committee of 54 were meeting in the basement of a hotel to plan. In fact, the committee would drive to the hotel basement using chase cars and flying the Kenyan flags in full view of the public. And they did all of this to plan a murder. If Ruto had told us that the notorious Artur brothers were back from Eastern Europe and that their brief was to assassinate him, the country would have shuddered in fear. We would have marinated in conspiracies and sympathy for him. Instead, Ruto chose the most ridiculous plot on earth. But beneath this useless plot, there was some genius we did not discern.
But what was the genius in the Ruto assassination claim of June 2019? What did Ruto know that the rest of us were blind to? For starters, Ruto knew too well that Uhuru Kenyatta was worried about losing his Kikuyu strongholds. And he also knew that Uhuru was organizing Kikuyus using the committee of 54 bureaucrats. If this committee succeeded, the Kikuyus would be ring-fenced, and the Ruto free-range access in Kikuyu country would be over. Finito. To stop this from happening, therefore, Ruto had to make a ridiculous claim. He had to tell us that the Committee of 54 is an assassination squad, that it was like the Ngoroko police unit set up to assassinate Mzee Moi in the Kenyatta succession of 1978. And the Committee of 54 had been constituted to eliminate Ruto. This sounded like poverty of imagination, but at the core, it was nothing but political genius. By labeling the Committee of 54 a Kikuyu assassination squad, he bastardized it. And because Uhuru hates controversy, he disbanded the committee. This is how Ruto managed to infiltrate the mountain with zero resistance. He had paralyzed Uhuru's vehicle for consolidating Kikuyus. And he did it using a claim that sounded ridiculous, but lethal in its purpose.
In Russian military doctrine, they call this kind of maneuver maskarovka, a doctrine the Russians have used since 1380. The word maskarova refers to the art of using a mask to conceal intent. And Ruto used this mask with genius in June 2019. He fabricated an assassination threat, and as we were busy discussing it, he took the Kikuyus away from Uhuru Kenyatta. Bingo. And the rest is history. Now, Gachagua has borrowed from the Ruto cookbook of politics. He has fabricated an assassination plot. But what does Gachagua want to take away from Ruto before 2027? And the answer is simple: the Raila strongholds. But how does Rigi take the strongholds away? First, he will stage weakness to conceal maneuver. He will fabricate an assassination attempt, which he has. Second, he will make the idea of assassinations possible and acceptable in our subconscious minds. And if they happen, he will tell us, "I told you." Third, if he is using the Russian doctrine of Maskarovka, he will strike and blame Ruto for it. If Gachagua is not mentally disturbed, he will assassinate someone in the Raila strongholds and create disturbia. And he is setting the stage for this ahead of 2027. Take it or leave it.
But Rigi is not particularly clever, and he suffers from a disease known as deficit masculinity. He is not capable of such an elaborate Russian scheme. Or is he? Maybe he is. In our view, Rigathi will become a victim of the law of unintended consequences because he is not particularly clever. At independence, an Indian freedom fighter claimed that Jomo Kenyatta wanted to assassinate him, and the country believed him. Then an opportunist killer took advantage of this claim. The alleged opportunist was the CIA. They exploited the assassination claims in Kenya and assassinated two of the biggest CIA threats, Gama Pinto and Malcolm X in the US. Malcolm X was assassinated on February 21st, 1965, and Gama Pinto was assassinated 4 days later on February 25th, 1965. And because a background of acceptance had been created, projecting Jomo's administration as the assassins, the CIA did it behind the tent and got Jomo blamed for it. It worked perfectly. Dear Rigiji, you have abused the hardcore RSF leaders in Sudan, and you have abused the M23 in Congo. Then you have told us that someone wants to assassinate you. Has it occurred to you that you might have just invited your killers, the way Pinto invited the CIA?